Accentuating your strengths and accounting for your weaknesses is a fantastic way to improve yourself. Make yourself more rounded and more effective. We can do the same with heroes. Somebody like Lieutenant Belica here on today's video, we can accentuate her strengths, crazy good damage and some utility, and take away her weaknesses, her glaring lack of mobility. That is what we're taking a look for in today's video, because Belica is pretty damn good in today's meta. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my hero building guide series. I am Sylphin. Here's the build, the Lieutenant. Yes, I am Canadian, I say Lieutenant. We here have the Archmagus. I'd like that structures passive just because hopefully you are engaging on a enemy tower. You push them back because you have the Orb Prime and kind of get that objective down. After that, we get a mana potion and a healer token here in the early game. That is what you start off with right off the bat. Mana potion and healer token gives you fantastic sustain to use your abilities and of course just live through any kind of poke or anything that happens there. After that, you go into your Magus Ward, a whole bunch of cast, little bit of mana, which she definitely does need. Really struggle for that mana in that early game. After that, though, we focus on mana regen. I firmly believe that the fact that mana regen pays off over 100, more than 100 seconds, I think that that is most often the case, the best use case for mana. That's what happens most of the time, so I feel like mana regen is going to be just better for us. We can stay in lane, use our abilities more often with that healer token. It'll just feed into everything, give yourself an advantage more. So there's 2 Solaris reactors, all minor casts just to make sure we get some damage. Following that, we get some burst engines. 2 6-point burst engines here with a little bit less basic spark and more power, just because we're going to need that power after that. Now after those, then we start going into our 12-point cards and replacing our 6-point cards. You will need to upgrade 2 of your burst engines, your weak burst engines here, with these strong ones. And actually, pardon me, you need to replace your Solaris reactors here with your burst engines so that you have 4 burst engines. Once you get these, then you will have enough power to warrant this Magna Lens that even further increases your ability damage with all of this ability penetration. Remember, every hero at this point will have about 30 ability armor, and piercing through that is so effective in the mathematical department. In the math, it is so effective. So that is your second last card. Then you finish off your build, replacing your weak ward with a Brawler's Ward. Endgame build, Brawler's Ward, Burst Engine, your 2 weak burst engines, and then your Magna Lens, and that is it. Plus, in there, you get your Blink Charm whenever you need it. So this Blink Charm is really right after your Magus Ward in there. That's kind of, if you need it then, but I would say get it after your Magus Ward. You could go a Solaris Reactor and then your Blink Charm, but ladies and gentlemen, I would probably recommend you get that Blink Charm right after your Magus Ward, as people will have their ultimates and people will be rotating at that point. Final build, Blink Charm, strong Brawler's Ward, Burst Engine, Magna Lens, and a Burst Engine. Let's go take a look at the gameplay. So here in the early game, like we said before, we get the mana potion and the healer token. That enables me to, against this Countess here, sustain pretty darn easily. Mana potion is going to give me much more mana than we would otherwise. Be really easy to sustain in that department, and at least use some abilities. If any sort of ganks are going to happen, we're going to have that mana for sure. Now, the very first ability that we get is Seismic Assault. What it does is it stuns the enemy in a line, just like you saw me use there, for a very brief period. The more you upgrade it, the more that stun duration increases. So it is very, very powerful. That it's a very, very powerful ability for you to upgrade, just because it is just so damn good. As you can see here, this Rampage and I are getting this Countess. I am waiting here to use my stun, simply because I know it's going to be very important, but I miss it. So I do manage to come over here and finish off this Countess. No problem. Now, there is a little bit of a hint of an issue with Belica's Seismic Assault. It's a bit hard to land because it kind of rolls down the, rolls across the ground. It's a bit tough to land and to aim. Now, another very key thing that you need to do with Belica, with any mid laner, is to make sure that you rotate. Here I am rotating as a mid laner, trying to make things happen, getting that river buff that gives me increased mana regen, and of course that very, very important invisibility. So there you go. I comboed on that Countess fairly well. What I did there was use the second ability that we got, Void Bomb. What Void Bomb does is you place a bomb on the ground, and after 1.25 seconds, it explodes, dealing fairly significant damage. Now, a part of it that you need to know is that you gain mana for each unit hit, meaning that the more units you hit, the more mana you gain, and therefore basically reducing its mana cost in the end. So you can actually sustain fairly well in lane using your Void Bomb, but you do have to be careful. You do have to be careful because Belica is a burst caster. Because her ability synergizes so well, you can put the Void Bomb down, and then you can stun the enemy so they stay in that area. You have to make sure, you have to be careful with the mana that you do use. Here in this lane, we have been getting the river buff, as you saw before, and we still have that mana potion. So it is actually really quite good. Now, the next ability that we get is Void Drone. What this drone does is it hovers in an area, and while an enemy stays in that area, they get mana drained from them. It doesn't go to you. It's just this drone burns enemy mana. Now, what it also does is if an enemy uses an ability in the area, then they get shot by this drone for a fairly significant amount of damage, to be honest with you. So because the whole burst meta is going on here, what you have to do is preempt the enemy's damage, their abilities with your Void Drone. So you have to make sure that you put it down on the ground, away, and preempt the enemy's ability. So here you saw me use it just there, thinking that the Countess was going to use a few more of her abilities on me, just because she does have a pretty good counter against me. Although I am kind of a good counter to her as well. I put it down. So one thing you do have to pay attention to, though, is that if the enemy kills your Void Drone, they get CXP, they get experience, and you gotta be careful with that. You gotta be careful. If you spam it too often, they can build experience from it and benefit quite a bit from it. So you don't want to spam it. You definitely want to use it on key moments, key ganks, key team fights, etc., etc. Now, here is an example of me missing a couple abilities. I missed my Seismic Assault. I don't necessarily put my Void Drone in the best positions. I thought that maybe she was going to do something there. I end up getting turned around here. I wanted to maybe try to get the Countess, but the steal came in. But I do finish her off. As you can see there, I blasted her with our ultimate called Neural Disruptor. What it does is it converts the missing points of mana of an enemy target into damage. And it first starts off something like 0.75, and then it builds to something like 1.25. So for every point of mana they're missing, you gain certain amounts of damage, obviously increasing the more you upgrade it. So as you can see, there is great synergy between her stun to keep her in the void bomb, to keep the enemy in your void drone, to drain their mana, and then finishing them off with your ultimate due to the fact that they will be low on mana. Now you can combo all of these together to some great effect. Now I don't do any sort of combo here, but what I want you to see here is me letting this Countess do her thing. Get a little bit of some poke on me, and unfortunately getting me low on health. And again, I miss my Seismic Assault. It is so important that you land this, because you absolutely need it. And again, here is another showcase where I get deleted, overextending, not using that blink charm that I should have gotten at this point. Here I am again coming in from the side to try to gank, and I completely annihilate that Decker with my ultimate, but unfortunately miss the other two abilities in there. Good thing she had low mana, so that my ultimate just kind of totally destroyed her, but the other two abilities there I missed. I'm showcasing a lot of these missed opportunities because I want you to see how critical it is for Belica to land those. All of her abilities are very powerful. A, if you land them, but B, if you synergize them together. And I don't necessarily do that too well. Here, this Rampage fortunately misses his boulder, or doesn't, but I don't get there in time because he was pushing his tower. I thought that we weren't going to do it. And unfortunately, I'm not going to engage in there on the Murdoch. I couldn't see who else was there on the minimap. I've been overextending so far this game, so I didn't want to do that. And here's a showcase of what happens when you do land a good combo of abilities. The Countess does a fantastic job doing her burst on me, but I land the two-person cause the Seismic Assault. I managed to get away, allowing this Rampage to come in. I choose to re-engage and use my ultimate here to completely destroy this Belica. I was pretty lucky there that I did land that two-person Seismic Assault, but then that is a showcase of how powerful that is, and just how much damage you can do with that Seismic Assault into your Void Drone. And then I chose to re-engage there because I had my ultimate. Notice that the Countess had low mana. Here I am coming in on this Countess, barreling down her mid lane, and she doesn't necessarily do the smartest thing. I actually land a Seismic Assault and completely nuke her down with my ultimate. So I put that Void Drone down there so that she'd try to do any shifty business. She would take some damage, but also to take away her mana, and she actually did take a shot from the drone, landed that Seismic Assault, did some basic attacks, and figured I could take her out with my ultimate. Bam, bam, bam. At this point, we have our first Solaris Reactor or two, and our Blink Charm. My issue in this game was I didn't get my Blink Charm nearly as early. What I chose was after that Magus Ward to go for the Solaris Reactor. In reality, I should have gone for the Blink Charm for sure. So, guys, get that Blink Charm after your ward for sure. Even dare I say, wait to upgrade that Magus Ward if you really need it that quickly. It's all up to you, depending on how your game's going. Get that ward earlier rather than later. So here we are trying to defend our right tower. Don't get there in time. And here I am going to town on this Fae here. Managed to miss my Seismic Assault again, but kaboom. Finish her off with my ultimate. As a caster, against casters, I should say, you are fantastic. So just simply because they can well, use up a lot of their high amounts of base armor, base mana. So you can totally nuke them down like that. At this point, I choose to upgrade my Seismic Assault as much as possible, followed then by my Void Bomb, simply because those two are kind of what's key, and then you choose to upgrade your Void Drone later. Oh, we have a team fight here starting. I put down my Void Drone, completely nuked down the Countess there with my ultimate, and then the rest of our team engages. I choose to go after this Fae here, while the rest of our team kind of cleans up house there in the back. She kind of fakes me out here a little bit, but goes behind Orb Prime. I do get her with a Void Bomb as we go back here to finish off this steal. Really, that was just great play by my friendly team there, but I think that Void Drone did much more than you might think. All of those enemies there that were that the rest of my team was engaged with, they would have had that mana reduced, and of course been taking tons of that damage from using abilities while in that area of effect. So I think we did much more than maybe that just kind of didn't really look like much, but I think that's maybe the power a little bit of Belica. Really well placed Void Drone into some great stuns here. As you can see, completely annihilating this Kwang. For some reason, I walk right up to him and give him the kill, basically. You're a caster. Stay back. Stay safe. Here is a bit of an engagement here in this mid lane, while our friendly steal counter-ults the enemy steal here, and we end up CCing him and taking him out. Now the ensuing fight here, that Seismic Assault would have actually landed here, I put my Void Drum up on this pillar, and not necessarily maybe the greatest time, but if they were to have continued that engagement, I thought that was kind of the better place. Again, trying to put that off to the side where it's a little bit inconspicuous. I know it's right on top of the perch, but it definitely would have been a better, because some people wouldn't have been able to get it. So there you go. As you can see, that Blink Charm coming into effect, getting me out of that Kwang ultimate that had just happened after that Fae ultimate, and doing some pretty substantial damage to that Countess and that Kwang in there. So that was okay there. The Countess here is trying to go back. Our Countess trying to get the Kwang, but unfortunately she gets taken out. And I just kind of have to retreat here to the right lane. But I see our steal kind of a little bit in trouble, but I figure he can get away quite easily as I come over here to defend the right lane. Here is an example of me overextending, being silly. I'm not sure what I'm thinking here, because boom, there's a Countess and there's a Kwang right behind her. So I use my Void Drone. I'm waiting. I don't land the stun again. So at that point, I figure I have to get out of there. There's the Blink Charm. If that Kwang had come in there, had tethered me while that Countess had me there, it would have been trouble. Still had that Blink Charm. That is why we get it. Now there's another ensuing team fight here. What I am thinking of, where is that opportune moment here? I go to put down the bomb, but I completely miss and just stand in the middle of everything. Why I did that, I have absolutely no idea. I just kind of stood there right in the middle of everything and took it. Now we have another team fight here in this mid lane that goes a little bit better, I think. So I'm waiting there. I put the Void Drone in the back. I get that stun on the Kwang. My bomb is out there, and now I'm just kind of figuring who is my next victim. I'm trying to think, where is my ultimate? But I wanted to go in there for that Fae that was there. She is taken out, but I didn't want to extend too far, just like I did in that last engagement, to just use my ultimate, things like that. So that went a little bit better. We did manage to utilize that steal, our friendly steal's ultimate, with a Void Bomb. I got the Void Drone in a good place. You heard it go off quite a few times there, and also I did get that Seismic Assault off on at least somebody. So there you go. There's a little bit of a showcase of some okay Belica play. So here I am coming in from behind on the steel and Kwang, being a little bit aggressive because I'm fairly confident here. I do put the Void Drone down. I do land my Seismic Assault on both of them, although I think my Void Bomb only hit one of them. Again, I'm standing right in the middle of this Kwang. And I don't know why. Don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. That was going so well. All what it required was me just to back up in any direction other than right in front of Kwang, and that would have been awesome. Don't do that. You're a caster, a very fragile caster. Get the hell away. So here, this Rampage and I are pressing our, what we used to have numbers advantage, but now it's turned back on us. And I want you to see something here. The Fey ultimate, I'm like, there's the Kwang ultimate. I use my Blink Charm, get away from that Kwang, turn around, use my Seismic Assault to stun lock this Kwang, and then we kind of get the kill here. I back up because I know I don't want to be beside him, and fortunately we do finish him off there. Again, you can see how weak your ultimate is on somebody without a high amount of base armor. Now here, I was thinking of trying to stun that steel in there, but I wasn't confident in landing my Seismic Assault to interrupt him, so unfortunately I didn't use it. And I'm taken out anyways. And that ends up being game. I mean, not necessarily the best showcase of Belica, but it does show you the build which I want to do the most, and it's definitely what not to do, with a few showcases of what to do. Ladies and gentlemen, please like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, share it with the community. Of course, guys, subscribe. If you guys like this content, found it useful, please subscribe so I can do it for you later. This was a bit of a different video. I apologize. I did record this live. It's much better, but unfortunately my game audio was way too loud. It was obnoxious. So unfortunately, I had to do it this way, and just because I'm really not that comfortable with Belica. So there you guys go. Till next time, like always, stay optimistic and positive.